Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it's time for your weekly wrap-up, and I want to begin first, as I always do, by thanking our newest Patreon supporters. They are Ron Young and David Clark, and what's interesting about David Clark is that I knew him as Mr. Clark 30 years ago as a 4th grade student in his class. So he was my 4th grade teacher back in 1986, and it was quite a year that year. We had the Challenger disaster, unfortunately, the Chernobyl disaster, a whole bunch of stuff going on around the world related to technology, and he was very much, and still is, very much interested in science and technology, and got a lot of us students really excited about it too. So perhaps some of what has become of me started with his class way back then, and it was really cool to reconnect with him through the channel. I know he's watching right now, so everybody can say hi to Mr. Clark, and let's all be grateful we have teachers like him out there who get young people excited about technology and the world around them. So maybe we'll get him on at some point. He can tell you all of the things that I forgot about what I was like as a 4th grader. I want to take a look now at what we did in the past week. You can see all these videos linked above and down below in the video description. We looked at the Lenovo ThinkPad 13, which is an affordable ThinkPad, believe it or not. Really nice computer, actually, for the money, with an i3 processor, a nice 1080p display. You can see that video in the playlist. We also looked at a LG monitor with very thin bezels and a really nice display, actually, but really lousy stand connected to it. It just flops around all over the place. You can see that review and get a sense for how that works there. We also looked at the LaCie Porsche Design mobile hard drive. This is an external hard drive designed by the Porsche Design Studio. So Porsche, the auto company, has a industrial design studio that makes consumer products, and they designed the exterior casing for this hard drive. So it is a little bit more expensive. It does have a USB Type-C connector, but it performs about where other drives will. And LaCie is Seagate's premium brand, so I think it has a Seagate drive built into it. We also looked at the Roku streaming stick last night, the new version, the 2016 version. A really fast little device, a nice, simple to use media player that if you're just looking for something that plays a lot of different services, I think this one will certainly do the trick for you. And this will be an ever-evolving video, the Kodi Flex and NVIDIA Shield for Movies video that I've been meaning to do for a very long time. I finally got to it, not because I was delaying it, it was because I was trying to get a cohesive strategy down for how to play movies through the Shield, and I finally got there thanks to a Kodi port called SPMC. One of the Kodi developers who was very much involved with Android broke away from the project to really accelerate development on the Shield, and this new port does a lot of great stuff, and you should definitely check out the video and see how I'm using it if you're into home theater PCs. So now a bit of news to look at. Android TV is coming to the Raspberry Pi 3, and some folks out there are already making ports over to it. Google has not necessarily said they're going to make this into a big deal, but they are setting aside some resources to develop Android for the Raspberry Pi 3. What's interesting about the Pi 3 is that it's running with the same chipset that a lot of low-cost Android TV boxes are already running with, so it's not going to be very hard for them to get all of this stuff working on the Pi 3. Really interesting device. I think it's probably no doubt the best Raspberry Pi that they've made to date, just because it's more powerful and it costs the same, and it's got a lot more operating system options too. And we previously looked at Chrome OS running on the Raspberry Pi. Now you can get Chrome OS and get Android TV running on it too. I'm going to probably try to get this working in the next week or two, so stay tuned. We'll probably do a little bit with this as they continue to develop things. I also wanted to let you know there's a new sponsor coming to the channel, at least on a test run here. Lumoid is coming to the channel, and what's interesting about Lumoid is that they're a service that allows you to rent equipment, expensive equipment like cameras and stuff, before you buy it. So if you wanted to take a camera out for the weekend and make sure it's the right camera for you, you can pay them to rent the product for a weekend, try it out, and if you like it, you can take some of that rental money and put it towards the purchase of the new camera. So what they're going to be doing is sending us some newer camera gear, not to keep, but just to borrow, and along the same lines as what they would do with a normal client. And we're going to review the stuff, but Lumoid is going to sponsor the reviews. So they're going to look at the video just to make sure I get their advertising copy correct, but the reviews will be just like all the other reviews we're doing here. It's a really good synergy, I think, and I often have a hard time getting loaner models of high-end gear. This is not one of their devices. This is my own camera, but they do rent cameras like this Nikon here, so it should be a really good synergy, I think, and you'll definitely let me know when that video gets posted. I think we're going to start with a little GoPro camera, that new one, the little tiny one, to start with, and we'll see how all of that turns out, so stay tuned for that. And now it's time for some Q&A, and this is going to be an Errata also. Josh O wrote in to mention that he has a Podo camera that we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, this little camera right here, and he mentioned that when it's plugged into his computer, he can copy the files off of it via USB, and during my review, I said that you could not do that, and as it turns out, I was wrong. My computer must have been messed up or something when I was playing with it, because every computer I've plugged it into since allows me to drag the files off manually from the device to my computer. Now, if you watch the review, you'll know that I pointed out how slow the transfers were over Bluetooth back to your phone or tablet that is controlling it. So this is one way to get around those slow transfer speeds. You can have the camera take pictures, and then when you're done, bring it home, plug it into your computer, and copy the files off that way. It still doesn't make up for the fact that I'm really not able to recommend this device to anyone, primarily because the camera isn't all that great. The focus is really lousy on it. It just doesn't really have the fit and finish of something that I would see justifying its $100 or so price tag. So it's not something I'm going to recommend, but I did want to clear the air on that and get that right. So I'll post this correction link to the original review. I also wanted to point it out here as well about the Podo camera. Our next question comes in from Regular Guy Mountain Biking, and he was curious about using a DSLR for producing YouTube content like I do, or going with a camcorder. This is a question that I get from time to time about which camera is best for whatever you might be doing. So I did bring out my DSLR here. This is my Nikon D600, and the reason why I use camcorders here on the channel versus something like this is for this reason. You see how blurry everything is? I'm going to switch on my autofocus here and get the thing focusing, and you'll notice just how long it takes to get the focus right on this thing, and that's because these cameras really aren't designed for video. They're designed for doing still photos, so they don't really have to focus all that quickly. So when you're trying to do autofocusing, it really takes a long time to get everything right, and if you get it in the wrong spot, you got to just kind of manually do it here. So focus is a big issue for me, especially because everything you see me do, I do myself. So what I like to do when I get down here is turn everything on and just start recording. And what's nice about camcorders is that they are very fast on autofocus, and especially the ones that I'm using. I have a couple of Canon HFG30s, which are kind of the top of the line consumer cameras that Canon makes, and Canon cameras are very fast on their autofocusing. So when I'm shooting stuff here in the studio, for example, I got the Podo camera up there. If I stick my hand in front here, it generally focuses very quickly to my hand and then back to the camera here, so you can see just how fast that is versus what we were just trying to do on the DSLR. So this is why I use camcorders. You don't get that nice blurred out background bokeh look with a camcorder like the one I'm using, but from an efficiency standpoint, that is one of the things you have to give up to get very fast autofocus. And that's why also I use Canon cameras here in the studio, but go out in the field with the Sonys that I have, because I found the Sonys are a little bit slower to autofocus versus the Canon. The Canon autofocusing on their camcorders is very, very fast. So I think if you're looking to do something like I do, where you're setting something up and you're getting in front of the camera, go with the Canon to do that, because you have the facial recognition set up. It's very fast to get your face noticed and focused on, and it'll lock onto you, and it'll stay locked onto you while you're shooting. And that to me is really worth it, and it even is worth giving up a little bit of image quality in the process. So that's why I go with camcorders. But if you have a lot of time and you really want the best possible look, buying an inexpensive DSLR will give you a better image quality. You get better depth of field, that blurred out background that I mentioned, and you'll definitely have a nice, more of a better polish, I think, for your videos using a DSLR versus a camcorder. But I like the convenience of the camcorder. And our next question comes in from Louis Alloway. He says he runs a very small technology channel, and he was wondering if I had recommendations for equipment. So a related question here. And just like my last response, I think it really varies based on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. But my advice to everyone is don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff before you get started. And the reason is that you could waste a lot of money buying all this fancy gear and then discover that you don't really need all of it. So everything that I've bought here on the channel, I've bought because I've needed to make my work more efficient. And that's really been my focus on the channel, is of course to improve my quality of production, but also to improve my efficiency so that I can do more in less time, so that I can keep cranking out content. Because when you're starting from scratch, if you're not a celebrity, I'm not a celebrity, I built this channel from nothing because I produced a ton of content that was relevant to people searching. And in order to be competitive on search, you got to keep cranking stuff out. And I really needed to do it very, very quickly in the limited amount of time that I had. So every investment that I've made into my equipment. So I have these live switchers that I do, so I don't have to edit much after I'm done recording. I just take what you see here and kind of string some clips together and upload it. So it's a lot quicker for me to do all this stuff while I'm recording versus recording and then going in and editing later. That saves me time, and that's worth an investment of money to do that. And I've invested in different switchers over time to make this more and more efficient. So that's why I settled on the TriCaster. I paid a lot of money for the TriCaster, but that was money I earned from all the ad revenue from YouTube, and I took that revenue and reinvested it bit into the channel, and the payoff has been very good because I've been able to produce more content, I get more views, more subscribers, and it kind of just continues from there. But I think if I had started with a TriCaster at the outset, probably wouldn't have been the best option for me to do, because I would have spent a lot of money and gotten discouraged over not having a lot of viewers at the beginning of the channel's life. So I think what you should do is use what you have. And then when you start noticing things that you'd like to make better, you make those small investments. So just so you have an idea of where I'm going next is I want to improve my lighting. I want to improve some of my audio a little bit, maybe get some better sound dampening for the room. So those are the investments that I plan to make next, because those are the things that I want to fix about the channel. But I didn't start off with all this stuff right away. I think there's a real argument to be made about the minimally viable products. So if you're out looking to start up a YouTube channel, don't look around at what other people are doing. I think you really should make something that's true to yourself. I know it sounds kind of sappy, but it really is the truth with YouTube. Is find what gets people engaged with you and keep doing that, and then look at things that you can do to either invest in or just change your process to make that experience better for your viewers. And I think that's the better way to go, because what's nice is that every dollar I've invested in equipment, I really have, I think, invested pretty wisely, because it's really improved my workflow and made everything a lot more enjoyable. This room is an investment also, because I needed a better space to work from, partly because I got kicked out of every room in the house as I've been spreading out here, but also because I needed a good place to get my work done, and this was a good investment as well. So that's really my advice. Is it may sound a little bit wishy-washy to not make a specific recommendation, but again, everyone's workflow is different. In your case, a DSLR might be a better choice than a camcorder, but you have to kind of make that determination based on what your viewers are doing. But the one thing, again, you should never do is go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment and then get started. Don't do that. Get started first, build your audience a little bit, see what's working, what's not working, and then invest to make improvements that will pay off in future growth. So that is my advice to you on there. So that is it for questions from you to me, but now I have a question for you. And I've been thinking about some of the stuff that I've been producing, and somebody wrote in and said my reviews are too long, and I don't disagree that my videos are long. I don't know if too long is true or not. I just wanted to get a feel from all of you as to whether or not the stuff I'm doing is too long, and if I should maybe break up some of these reviews. So great example is the Roku stick review that I did. I covered probably about 4 or 5 features in that review. And in the past, I've experimented with covering different features separately in separate videos, but lately I've been kind of consolidating everything into one video, because I could upload probably 15 or 20 things a week, but I don't think I would get a lot of viewership on 15 or 20 videos uploaded so close to each other. So I go with one longer one with a video index that people can use to find the things that they're looking for. So I'd just love to get a sense from you all as to whether or not you'd like to see things broken up a little bit into separate videos, or if the length I have right now is good. I try to get in around the 10-minute zone, give or take. If it's a product that has a lot of interesting features to it, they'll go longer, but generally anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes or so is where I try to end up on my videos. And it seems to work pretty well, especially for people that are in that very serious buying mode, trying to figure out what they want to do. So definitely let me know what you think about that. So this week, and I am promising this week, if I do nothing else, this is what I'm going to get done this week. The AMD cheap PC build, or low-cost PC, because it isn't going to be cheap in performance. We've got all the parts here. Everything is here and waiting. I got the case over there. I just haven't had time to get really devoted to building a computer. So I'm hoping, and actually I'm pretty certain I'm going to get it done tomorrow night. I'm going to live stream the build. It's not going to be the most exciting thing to watch. It's actually kind of comical because I'm not the most mechanically inclined person, but we're going to put this computer together live. I don't know what time I'm going to start because I have to get all of my children to bed and the dog happy and everybody quiet upstairs so I can come down here. So plan on about 8:30, 9 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States on Tuesday, June 7th. So stay tuned, and hopefully I'll get everything live as I build it. It is going to be kind of like watching paint dry, because once we get all the components put together, we have to install Windows and wait a while. But I do hope to get it booted, play a couple of games, and then I'll do kind of a longer video review of that computer that I'm building. And the cool thing is that we're going to build an AMD APU-powered computer that will be able to hopefully run some games for about $315. So a pretty low-cost way to build your own PC that I think will be pretty powerful and very expandable too. So I'm really eager to get this thing going, and we got some parts in from AMD as well from PNY. So we'll have some cool components to it. And I'd love to hear some feedback from all of you about things I should think about from the BIOS settings. So if you want to write in about some things I should think about tweaking after we get the thing put together, do let me know in the comments below, because I don't do a lot of overclocking, so it'd be great to get some feedback from all of you on that. Now, if you want to help the channel, you can go to Lon.TV/Patreon. I'll be updating the Patreon end card tomorrow with all of the new donors to the channel. We also have a fan funding link here at Lon.TV on the YouTube channel, so you can contribute that way. Somebody did write in about contributing via a regular check, kind of mailing in the check, and I really appreciate people willing to do that, but I'm not able to really take checks here. And I know that sounds kind of weird, like how could you not take checks? But there's some liability involved with taking checks from the world, because if something bounces, I get hit with fees and everything. So it's easier, I think, to have those checks or those payments come in through fan funding or through Patreon. So if you are unable to do those two avenues for contributions, you can go to my Square store as well. You can do a credit card over there, but I'm not going to be able to take checks for this just because it adds additional administrative layers that I can't yet deal with, but maybe soon in the future. So if you can't contribute those two ways and want to, don't worry about it. As long as you keep watching, that makes a big difference too. But I did want to get that answer because somebody did write in about that. I haven't responded to that question. I will respond personally to that person as well as once I get done with the editing tonight. You can also buy stuff on Amazon at Lon.TV/Amazon, and any purchase you make will get a small portion of that sale, and your price will not be affected by that. It's affiliate marketing. It's been around forever, and you can help the channel by just shopping at Amazon too. So that'll do it for this week. You can connect with the channel in a couple different ways. We got my email list. I now send out a weekly email which includes this wrap-up video and all the videos that I did in the prior week. You can go to Lon.TV/Facebook to connect on the Facebook channel. I do a couple of live things on there from time to time. Lon.TV/Reddit for the Reddit page, and we've got the store where I've got some cheap computers you can buy if you want. I got a couple left in the store there, so definitely take a look and see if there's something you can use in there, because those are the things that I bought and I'm now reselling because I am done reviewing them. So now you can buy the same exact computer that I reviewed here on the channel. So that'll do it for this week. Please keep those questions and comments coming. Thank you all for watching on a regular basis. We've got a lot more to come. Really excited to get that PC build going. So we'll hopefully get that started tomorrow night, and we'll do a review of that computer that I built later on in the week, and hopefully I'll give myself a good review. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.